Hello, what I'd like to do in this little video demonstration is talk to you about the all occasion dies, the Christmas tree dies, and just sort of give you some hints and tips on how to get the best out of them. And as ever, this is just my serving suggestion, but I hope it will help you perhaps get a little bit more out of the die and have a little bit more fun and creativity with it. So what I'm going to do is start off and just show you the basic ways that we cut and use the die. Now before I start cutting the die, I'd just like to show you some samples here. We'll make some more as I go along through the video. But initially, this is how the die was intended to work, and this is what I call a reverse cut or negative cut die. And basically it cuts out the shape out of the piece of paper. So you can see you get this lovely shape that appears as what we call a negative out of the card. But you will also notice that we've got a little line running around it. Now this will enable you to cut it out, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Now I love the card like this. I think it makes for a really lovely card, and you see as I pull my hands in and out, the light changes behind it. It's lovely, but you've got other ways of working with this. Now if I can show you this sample here, that's doing exactly the same thing. I've just cut out of an A6 piece of card and popped my die on top and had the reverse cut come out. But this time I've used a pink Miri board, and I've also been able to match that with the lettering top and bottom. Now to get the colour onto the tree, all I've simply done is popped a panel on behind it here. Now in this instance I've put an angel on it, but if you're doing your inserts, that will cover this little square anyway, so you wouldn't see that necessarily in the normal course of working with the cards. So that's a great way of getting colour behind the card if you want to as well. And of course you can mix and match it any way that you want there. Now as I've said, we've also got the opportunity of cutting out the die, and actually if I just come in and bring this card here and show you, you can see that the tree has got the outline shape and it's been stuck down onto the card. And that's because when you cut it out, there's a little embossing line that runs around it, and that acts as the cutting guide for you. So you can, if you want to, just cut the tree out and use it that way and stick it down onto a piece of card or backing paper of your choice. So now on this one, we can use the same techniques. We've got the image cut out. I've used silver Miri board, but this time what I've done is use the negative shapes cut out on green and just pop them in between the tree here. And that gives me a lovely colour to the tree. And of course I could mix and match and put different ones in there as well. So that gives you an overview of some of the things that we can do, and probably a nice way of working with the Christmas tree. And again, just showing you here a few more samples of different ways of how we can use it, so cutting it out and creating these shapes. So what I'd like to do now is just give you a practical demonstration of working with this, and then just run through some of these techniques with you. And I hope, as I said, it'll give you an idea of some of the things that you can do working with the Christmas tree dies. I'm going to do a little A6 card here. So what we've got to do is obviously work out the way the card opens. Now I'm going to flatten this down, and that's where we're going to put the die just to position it so that it cuts through and creates our negative shape. Now I'm using the Big Shot here, but you could use any of the other machines that you like as well. Now to hold this in position, because I'm going to pop this upside down when we cut it, I'm putting a little bit of tape on it, a bit of clear tape, Magi tape, library tape, anything that doesn't stick too much, because when it goes through it will push the tape hard into the fibres of the paper. So the next thing to do is just set this all up. I need to put my plates in the right position. So I've got my base plate there. This is going to come upside down and just sit there like that. Pop that one on there, and we'll run that through the machine. Now in an ideal world it would prefer to go the other way, but on this machine it cuts quite well, and if I have a look through there I can see that that's cut. You can come back again if you want to. Probably really only need to go through once. But that way now I've got my initial cut, take this off here and just pull that away. And there we go. So here we go, I've run it through. I said just depending on your machine is how many times you run it through. Now on the Big Shot, which has got quite a powerful cut to it, once is probably enough because you've got an embossing line around here. There's a danger it will really start to push into the die as well. But that again is something which you can experiment with your machine. That aside, we've got a lovely cut because normally when we go through with our dies through the machine, it would really prefer to go that away. Now, these are really lovely dies and it cuts beautifully. It's slowly putting the pressure on as it runs through this way. So cutting wise, absolutely fine. And that gives me my card like so. Just fold that there. Now, of course, we can do a couple of things with this. That's our initial starting point. But what I'd like to do is just very quickly, if I just pop a little bit of Miri board behind it there, you can see just by cutting out a panel like we've done with our cards here. I'll show you that one with our angel. Ignore the angel, lovely as it is. That will then be covered up. So that's another method. And of course, we can use this line to cut out as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is just do the cut again but in red and then play around with some of the parts and then show you how we can make a different style of tree with that. Okay, the next method I'm going to show you is how we can actually cut the tree out and then use the negative parts as well. So what I'm going to do in this instance is pop the die facing this way. That's the way they love to go through, sort of smallest amount of pressure so it evens it out. But as we've seen on the other demonstration, you can actually have it that way. But where possible, whichever machine you're working with, try and get it so that it kind of eases its way through. Okay, die upwards on this particular machine, cutting against my Miri board. That's going on there. And my base plate on there. Remember, whatever machine you're working with, you can use. Again, I'll run that through. I'll just bring it back. There's one cut's probably more than sufficient. Pull that up, and we can see now we've got our lovely tree there. And importantly, we've got our negative shapes. Now they're just dropping out. These dies are lovely. They're all Teflon coated, so everything will drop out. I'm just going to rest that back in there for a second because I find it quite useful to keep those parts in situ. Just move this out the way. So now we've got our tree like this, and we can work with that and with our pieces here. So we've got lots of options here with the tree. Now another way of working with this is to actually mat and layer this piece and then stick that onto a card as well. Let me explain that. Well, first of all, what I would do is just square all of this up so it's in a nice frame. But just bear with me on this because for this particular demonstration. So if I just show you what I mean in a very rough and quick way, you could obviously do it a lot nicer back at home, as it were. So what I'm going to do is just cut out a section here and then pop that silver onto there, or it could be gold, and that would be stuck down. And then onto my card, I could mat and layer and put that there, or again, let's just go for a different colour for our emphasis. Imagine that's our card base here. So we've stuck that down. This would all be nice and square, and that would be on our card. So we've mat and layered everything up to give us our different effects as well. So that's another sort of idea or technique that we could do with this particular die. But that aside, what I'd like to do now is just come back and show you the fact that we can actually cut this out. Now here's one in true TV style world that I prepared earlier on, and I cut this out of white card. When we put white onto white, it looks very embossed. It's a really lovely technique, and that's something you might want to experiment with. But for the moment, let's concentrate on what we've got here. Now you can see that this is cut and left an edge around it, and that's your guideline for cutting out. Now, it doesn't take long, and don't panic because it's all lovely straight lines. So you've got a choice to either work with scissors or with a craft knife. It's up to you. I'm going to just use my scissors here and, as I said, work my way round and just cut this tree out. Now, I sometimes prefer to work with a craft knife just because I'm a little bit more accurate with that than I am with the scissors. So, but I just want to show you two different methods, and it really is up to you then. So I'm going to just cut to my scissors here, just go to that point, and then again I can just slowly work my way round. You see, it doesn't take too long at all. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but my glasses are set up for computer work, and I've just realised it's not the easiest thing to see close up. This is the smaller of the two as well, so there we go. And I just need to just chip it in there. Take your time. Sometimes the hardest thing, I'm going to be a bit braver, is just doing the cuts into the edge, which, to be honest, I think I'll just use my craft knife for that. But as I said, I'm more of a craft knife person than a scissors one. So that goes to there. And now, as I said, with the craft knife, I'm just going to come in and just nip out those last little bits there. Pull that away and just tidy up that one there. So, and now with a craft knife and a steel rule, I can just come in and do as I did with the scissors, and I can just cut that way. So it's really a matter of preference and choice, however you want to work. As I said, I'm perhaps a little bit happier with a blade than with the scissors. And just take your time and work your way through. And then that will all eventually just cut out nicely there. So again, I'll just pop that onto here. Just run that through like so, and do you know, I can do the rest freehand, the smaller bits, which is why personally I find I cut quicker with a craft knife than I do with the scissors sometimes. So I'll work that to there, and there we go. Just make sure I've got into the corners enough to release that. It's just holding a little bit here. So again, I'll just run that one through and cut it there, and that should now just release itself like so. Just pull off the bits that I don't need. I won't pull them off, I'm going to cut them accurately. There we go, get rid of that. Now this is cut out, I can stick it down wherever I want to on the paper, and obviously the backing paper of my choice. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Now for gluing the dies, I recommend the Cosmic Shimmer glue. Really use whatever you like, but what I like about this is it dries quickly, and you've got a nice fine tip on it. And I just put a few dots on like this. I tend to just stick a little bit in the middle of the decorations, like so, and then just go along and just put a few dots. Boom, boom, boom. I'm a little bit quicker. I think I'm slowing down for the camera, but just to show you like that, it doesn't take long at all. Whichever gluing method you prefer is up to you. There we go, and just put a couple down there. If you put too much on, I often just move a little bit around with the end of the glue there. Okie dokie, that can come up now, and that's ready just to stick down onto my card. It glues quite quickly, this, so, or rather it dries quite quickly. And again, just looking where I want it to go, think about there, and just gently rest it down and just pop that into position there like so. And that is my card, and that's, let's tilt that up, you can see, gives us a lovely image, and then I can put my text on there, perhaps Merry Christmas. But we've also got this shape here, so I could fill that in with another colour. Now my existing colours are red, so to put red on red would be a little bit silly. So I'm going to go and cut a gold now, and then just show you how we can just pop the other images just inside. And then I'm going to show you how we can use the red reverse shapes as well, and the bit that cuts out as a guide as well. So I'm going to use my gold one to do a little bit of everything. So I'll just come back to this in a second. Now I've cut this out in gold here, And again, that would make a great, you know, if that was all squared up, we could use that on a card if we wanted to. More importantly, I've got the reverse shapes here. And what I'm going to do now is just, again, so I love this glue, it's just this bit here that gets in my way sometimes. So what I'm going to do is just a few dobs of glue, whoops, a little bit too much there, so pick that up and just pop that onto here like so. Just scrape some of that off because it's not necessary to have that much. And that now will just slot exactly back into my tree like so. It's very much like doing a jigsaw puzzle, and I quite enjoy that bit. Incidentally, I'm just going to show you, lots of people are worried about bashing and using their dies, and I just want to show you on my plate here is a little bit of a curve to get the bits out. Sometimes they'll just drop out, which is great, but when you want to catch the bits, not so good. And just a quick tap like so is more than enough to get them out. And if you've got some little bits that are cut, that one will drop out. But I just want to show you, just use your pokey tool to get them out as well. So I'm going to have my little parts here and just come back and pop those back into the card. So what I'll do is just work my way along, and again, put a little bit of glue, take some of that excess off from here, and stick that back in like so. Okay, so I'll go on now and just do the rest of it. You can see what the technique is. And like I said, just really just to recap, you don't need much glue, just a few little dots will be absolutely fine. And those parts just fit in beautifully like so. I don't know why, I just so enjoy doing this. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. But of course we could change the colours as well. I realised that we could do this and just change the colours, and I could perhaps put green in there or just mix and match the colours. So it's really up to you, however you want to do it. It's your choice. That's a nice thing. But what I think is so exciting about this is that from one die we can make so many different Christmas cards. So maybe you'll just do the reverse cutout like this for 1 year for everybody. The next year you may just have just the outline on a piece of paper, or then you could add this on here. So you could just keep so many variations going. Okay, so I'll go on and just stick those on and finish that off a little bit later on. Come back and have a look. But while that's there, what I'd like to do is just show you how we can use, as I said, the reverse cut method. And what I want to do now is I'll just fold this up. If I find it's useful if you're working, say, on an A6 card, get the shape that you're working on so that you can line everything up either visually or mathematically. Now, the thing to do with the reverse cut is use one like this as a template. So line that up, get rid of some of the little bits there. Line that up to where you want it to be. Now, a handy hint, and I haven't done it here, is just, I would just square this up around it. So A, you can use it for something else on a card, and B, it just lets you realise that you haven't, stuck it down in the wrong position. Again, I'm just going to visually pop that there, and with a little bit of tape, just hold it into position so that I can just work with it top and bottom. Now the tape will just hold this into position for me so it doesn't move, and then I just come back now and again pop a little bit of glue onto the reverse shape here, in more towards the middle so it squashes out. We don't want it to squeeze out and go underneath our template here. You can see I can push that down. Again, just work my way along now, doing the same technique, the reverse, in the sense of what we've just done, but also the same, if that makes sense. So this instance, we could be filling in the middle of the tree, but we're going to pull this out. So I'll just go on and do that, and we'll come back to it in a moment. I've just got the top of the Christmas tree to do now, and incidentally that makes a nice little decoration for like shooting stars as well. So that's another little extra you can squeeze out of this already versatile die. Okay, so I've just gone on now, as you can see, glued all those bits in. I'm just going to take the tape off of there, carefully pull that away, and I get a perfect Christmas tree. Everything in position behind there. I could go and put my greetings on. Again, it's another card, so that's another way that you can work with this die. What I'd like to do is just quickly run through the samples. So we had the reverse one out here, Au Naturel, and I've just put some type from our All Occasions type on there, nice Merry Christmas. And this one was in silver, where we'd cut out the tree and then put a different colour in between there. Again, Merry Christmas on that. And with this one, we used the negative shapes. We had a template which we worked with, and we just overlaid that and then put the shape in, and that put it in perfectly there. Again, I rather like that. I think that gives another variation. And last but not least, I've cut this out and put on my type in white. And just to show you, it's a very subtle, it looks like it's embossed, but it isn't. And of course, if you open it up, there's no embossing on the back. That and some of the snowflakes, again from our All Occasions snowflakes put on there, looks absolutely amazing. So that's a suggestion for making different variations on the cards using the Christmas tree die. Now, last but not least, what I want to show you is that we can actually use the large die on an A5 card as well. We can use the larger die even on the A6 card, so that not only works on the larger A5, but you can use that on there, and just show you the comparison now. So that's another suggestion. If you're using the larger tree, making your bigger Christmas cards, you can also make a rather lovely statement and try out all these different techniques again on the smaller card. And there's nothing to then stop you using the smaller one on the larger A5, doing 2 of these on there or whatever. So a very versatile set of dies. The Christmas words just set it off as well. But there we go. That, I hope, gives you an overview of some of the exciting things you can do with the All Occasions Christmas tree dies. Well, I hope that's helped to show you what I think is how to get the best out of these dies. As I said, you can work with them either large or small, but don't forget you can use the large one as we've seen on the A6 card, and that I think makes a really nice statement as well. But of course, this is up to you. So have fun with these and see what cards you can make for yourself, and I'm pretty sure you'll probably find a new and different way of using them as well. And anyway, take care and enjoy your crafting.